Alright, YouTubers, I guess I gotta shut this down. I'm just watching one of Luke's overnight adventures from the Outdoor Gear Review. We'll shut that down. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, go over to his channel. You probably already have if you're at my channel, seen his channel, but Luke from the Outdoor Gear Review does an excellent job, and his videos are very good, full of information, and he shows you lots of cool gear. He owns lots of gear that he tests out and brings out on overnight trips. But I pulled out the camera actually because I was going to do a quick video. This is my pack here. It's an LL Bean White Mountain Expedition pack. It weighs about 6.5 to 7.5 pounds. I think it's more closer to 7.5 now. I've been using it for 6 years, and over the years you get dust and just stuff that starts making your pack weigh a little bit more. If you clean it, you can get some of that weight out of there. I'd say it's at least 7 pounds. Empty, which is definitely heavy, and I consider it way too heavy, but it's hard for me to break away from this pack because I've used it for so long and it's just so heavy duty that, you know, you really don't have to worry about holes and ripping it, and it can take a real beating. But before I get into this video on what's in my pack for winter, and I'm getting ready to take my trip to California, so I'm going to be packing it up for fall and winter in California, which isn't quite the same as in Maine. I did want to mention that just got some information from my best friend Tied Inside. If you guys remember, he's come out and helped me out on the off-the-grid experiment project that we have going on. And he spent a couple nights in the woods with me on and off. But he just called me. He's been having some really bad joint and muscle pains. And of course, the unthinkable. We try to prevent it as much as possible. And every time he's come out with me, I've loaded him up with 40 Dietz bug spray and try to fight them as much as possible. We both, you know, check ourselves for ticks regularly, but he's got the lab results back and he did test positive for Lyme disease. So when he was out there helping me out, and when we were filming season 2 of Off the Grid Experiment, he must have gotten bit by a tick, and he says that he never found one latched onto him, and he never found a mark of any kind. But he did just get lab results back saying he has Lyme disease, which is a lifelong disease, and it's really terrible. So please, you know, keep him in your thoughts. Put some good wishes out there for him, and yeah, he's coming over right now so we can talk about what his treatment plan is. But if you get it early, sometimes it's just antibiotics that you can take, and that'll squash the disease, and it'll still be in your system, but you may not have problems ever in your life. But if you catch it too late and it multiplies and gets into your joint system, it can be a lifelong disease that causes pain regularly, and you'll have to do treatments every time it comes back to get that pain to go away. So hopefully we caught it early enough that he's not going to have to deal with that. I just wanted to mention it here and make sure you guys really know how important it is to protect yourself, because the mosquitoes carry malaria and a few other diseases. The ticks can carry parasites, and of course the deer tick, the smallest tick, the hardest one to find, can carry Lyme disease, which can be a life-altering disease and can lead to death. So yeah, here we go. I'm going to set this camera up in a more steady place, and I'll start unloading this pack and show you what we got for the load in the winter setup, California fall-winter setup. Stay tuned. Well, first I guess we'll start take a look at this top pocket. Like I said, this is a big expedition bag. It's definitely much larger than you'll need for any overnight trips, but this is the bag I take out. As you know, I don't do many overnight trips. I'm usually out there for a week to 6 weeks, maybe even longer sometimes. My trip to California is going to be 6 weeks long, and I'll be sleeping outdoors for pretty much that entire time. I may go down to San Diego to visit my friends for a week, and in that case I'll be staying at their apartments on the beach, which will be nice. But this is the front pocket here. Got a couple of patches from over the years, parks I've been to. But if you take a look in the pouch, I usually keep a backpacker's meal. This is my map of California coast. I have this here, which has some hot cocoa, some oatmeal, and a couple surgical knives. I have this stuff sack bag, which it's labeled maps. This is what I keep my maps in. And I have a couple other things in there. Some other food. This is just some Idaho instant potatoes, 4 cheese. Some ramen noodles, all vacuum sealed, of course, because that's the easiest way to deal with these. And you can always just throw those the wrappers right in the fire. I wouldn't sit over the fire while the plastic is burning. I do have a really light Motorola walkie-talkie, so if I get lost in the woods, and I know I'm not too far, it has about a 15-mile range. I'm not too far, I can put the batteries to my headlamp in that and try to call for help if I need to get out of a place. Excuse me, set down this camera. So that's pretty much what I keep in that top pouch. That top pouch is for maps and whatever food I'm carrying for the couple days. I usually only carry 2 to 3 days worth of food on me at a time, and I hike out and hit up the market in between. Let's get this camera set up a little bit better again. Alright, got the camera in a stable place. As you can see, I carry a medium to large size canister of bear spray. When I'm out in the mountains of California, there's a lot of black bear. I've been so close to one I can almost touch it. And that makes you sleep a lot better at night. That will deter a bear. When I'm in Maine, I do carry a sidearm. I am permitted to do so. In California, it is not as easy to get a permit to do so, so I don't carry one in California. The bear spray definitely works well. I've seen it work in a lot of examples, and I'm willing to trust my life with it. I mean, you could have a whole gang of coyotes or wolves coming up on you, and you give one good spray with that 30-foot sprayer that's on that thing, you get about 30 feet of distance on it, and yeah, anything that gets hit in the face with that is not going to mess with you. It's about 3 million Scoville units. It's pretty high. This is just a little carabiner, not for climbing, just for hanging stuff off the pack. This is a large carabiner. This is for holding heavy loads. We'll go into the first pocket here, right here in the front. And it has this little pocket here, and in here, you know, I have a little Altoid can that I make char cloth in. It's really small. I like to keep that in there. I have a lighter. I have my passport, and some extra batteries. That's about it in that pocket. And then you pull this out. This is always in my pack. This is my compass. This has lived in this pack for many years. This is a brand new Light My Fire Army, one of the thicker fire steels. This always lives in my pack. I've never used this one. I actually have one on my keychain that I use regularly. This one's just for emergency use only. A P51 can opener, which can come in handy, especially when you're in an urban environment. Most of your food is going to come in cans. Excuse me. And a Orion. This is like a boat. This is like if you are a marine guy or you know, you work on a boat. This is the kind of whistle that they give you. It's really loud. Call for help. 3 big blows. 3 international sign of distress. 3 big blows with that, and someone should hear you. I always carry extra Carmex. I get chapped lips, plus it burns real well. For some reason, there's an Espit fuel cube in there, but that's usually in my stove. I don't know, I must have just thrown that in there last time. And then there's my Grand Force Brooks grinding stone sharpening system. Has a fine side and a coarse side, and I use this for my knives, and of course this brings my axe to a razor sharp point. Alright, sorry about that. I had to shut the camera down and tend to that phone call real quick. But I'm back. Alright, we're going to move on in the pack. I guess we'll go straight down here to the sleeping setup. And of course, I have a thermarest, ridge rest pad. It's one of the newer ones. It has the aluminum reflector, and it's supposed to add about 10% of warmth to it. And this is actually the Comfort series, which sometimes is hard to find. You usually have to find them online somewhere. They're a little more expensive than the regular ones, but they add a little bit of thickness, and it's a huge difference. Like, I've used the green ones with the silver lining, and I've used these, and you can sleep on the snow with these and still be pretty warm. You can get through a night with these easily without having another pad. A lot of guys like to use other pads because this pad really is for keeping you warm and not necessarily for comfort. As you can see, it doesn't have much loft to it, and on hard ground it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it keeps you warm and you don't feel the cold of the ground, which is what it's made for, so it works. It weighs maybe 1.5 pounds or maybe a pound, or I'm not really sure how much that thing weighs. I think it's less than a pound actually, or something like that. And then I have my sleeping bag here. It says that it's a snowshoe 0 degree. I do have a North Face snowshoe 0 degree synthetic bag that I've been carrying for 4 or 5 years, but I'll tell you, I never could get anywhere near 0 degrees in it. Anytime it was below 30 degrees by morning, I was usually cold in that bag. I am using the bag from that bag because I like how well it compresses. If we open this, I have another plastic trash bag inside of this, if you can see, and it's all twirled up and wrapped, so if I fall in the drink or it starts raining really bad and I don't have my pack cover on, my sleeping bag doesn't get wet, because inside here I do have an REI negative 20 degree expedition bag. You can go to REI and check out what it looks like and everything. It's orange and black down bag. And the down bag on the bottom has 700 fill down, and on the top is 800 fill down. You can definitely get down to 0 degree with just this bag on and be nice and cozy. So that's what I carry. It weighs 4.4 pounds 2 ounces. It's definitely warmer than my other bag, and I hate being cold. I'm a cold sleeper, and I got this bag, and I've slept out in some pretty cold temperatures. In this spring, when I was doing the off-the-grid experiment in spring, it got down well below 30 a couple nights, and it was really warm. I mean, if it's above 40, you're gonna have to unzip the bag. So I like that, because I hate the cold. I'm not going to bust it out. I mean, if you guys go to REI's website, you'll be able to see all the specs on that. And once again, it's the negative 20 expedition bag that they have. So if you guys are interested in that, shoot over there. It's definitely a good bag, and it's about $500 or maybe $400. I got it on clearance for $360, and for $360, this is an outstanding bag. So I'll stuff that back in. Stuff that bag in right quick. And we'll move over to this little side pocket, since you guys can see that. And that's all I got in here. It's a waterproof Sierra Design waterproof parka. Just a rain jacket. Very important. Keep yourself dry, avoid hypothermia, and it's a lot of extra weight. We hate carrying the rain jacket, but when you have 4 or 5 days of straight rain, you're going to be glad you brought it. That weighs about, I think, 13 ounces. Yeah, I think it's about 13, maybe to 15 ounces. And then these are the Sierra Design pants. waterproof, breathable. These weigh 7 ounces. So it's just over a pound for your rain system there. And I usually don't carry this, but this summer I did have problems with some poison ivy, and I realized how valuable a bottle of cortisone 10 can be, because when you have really bad rash from something plant related, this will squash that out for you. And that's all I keep in that pocket there. Sandals, especially if you're going to be traveling a lot, showering in public places, you want to wear sandals. You don't want to get foot fungus. Your feet are one of the most important assets, especially when you are hiking and backpacking. So I recommend carrying some clogs, some water shoes, or some sandals. Something you can easily clean and wear around camp when you don't want to have your boots on, and something you can wear in the showers when you're maybe at a hostel or maybe at a campground in between your hike, getting cleaned up. You don't want to be getting in shower stalls that 100 hairy men have been using that week without any sandals on. Trust me. I got this pouch here. It's just a mesh pouch, which I actually carry this pouch for when I'm collecting mushrooms or other wild edibles that I'm trying to dry out. I'll put them in this bag and then tie it to my pack. Trying to keep it out of the shade, but in a place where it's getting lots of wind. And this bag works really good for drying stuff out, and drying mushrooms especially. Mushrooms are usually easier to handle when you're drying them out. I don't recommend you picking and trying to eat mushrooms unless you're well educated on that, because mushrooms are very dangerous, and if you eat the wrong one, it will kill you. There's an extra razor, as I do keep myself fairly clean shaved out in the woods. Extra pair of bootlaces, round, good for starting fires with a bow drill setup, and there's a pair of rubber gloves in there. So if I have to deal with any kind of medical problem on somebody else and they're bleeding, I rather wear gloves, and I do carry a pair of gloves for that purpose. Just in case, you never know what they're bleeding out. And there's a whatever you call it, a do-rag or a handkerchief in there. And there are some foot warmers, so if you get stuck in a really cold spot, these foot warmers last like 8 hours, and they'll get you through a night without your toes getting frostbitten and freezing off. And then, of course, extra water purification device. This is a Life Straw. I recommend everybody check them out. This is one of the most reliable water systems you can carry. It's super light. You blow the water out of it. You can repack it after using it for up to 5 years. If you don't have a Life Straw, go buy one. They donate. When you buy one, they donate a year's worth of water to a child in undeveloped countries like Africa. Clean water. And so it's worth it right there just for the donation. I bought 6 of them when I got them last time. I order them whenever. I give them away to people as gifts. Anybody who I know who's traveling and doesn't carry a water system, I just give them one of these, because I have friends who have gotten parasites, lost 40 pounds, and almost died because they didn't have a water filter. So do not take the chance. Bring a Life Straw. It weighs about 5 ounces, or maybe even less than that. I think these are only actually 3 or 4 ounces. They just redesigned this, actually. This is an older one. But I definitely recommend you getting one of those. And the only other thing in that pocket is this goes on my walking stick. I only carry one walking stick. If I need to, I'll carve the other one. But this goes on the bottom of my walking stick for when I'm going through snow. So that's it for that pocket. Let's move on to the main pocket. Of course, I have a Nalgene bottle down there. I only carry one Nalgene bottle, and then I usually carry a 1.5 liter regular water bottle that I just get at the store on my way out on the other side. So that's about 2.5 liters of water, plus I have a platypus that I keep inside the pack, and I don't really use that much. except for when I finally get set up at camp. I'll fill it up and bring it over to camp, and I'll even use it sometimes to shower and wash up with. But if I'm traveling through desert, I obviously don't carry this much weight, and I carry a lot more water. Tapestry I use for my towel system. Instead of carrying a towel, I carry a tapestry. It's much lighter, and it still does the job. It's not quite as exorbitant, but you can lay it down and use it as a ground sheet. Sometimes I'll use it as a sheet on my pad. This kit right here is just some extra survival stuff. I have needle and threads, all my first aid stuff, an extra lighter, a big spool of thread, and New Skin liquid bandage. Great stuff. New Skin liquid bandage and some super glue. Really, the two of those things can really patch up some significant scratches, scrapes, and cuts. And it has a lot of antibacterial in it. So you put that on a cut, and by the time you make it out of the woods, it's not going to be all infected on you. It really keeps the dirt and germs out of your wound. A pair of good gloves. These are Kevlar and Forest. I got these actually over at the Police and Fire Depot store where officers get it. These are prick-proof gloves. They have Kevlar on the bottom of the hands and fingers, and these actually are about 7 years old, and I got to replace them soon, but they've really held up really well. So it's good to have gloves when you're working in the woods. You rip your hands all up and, you know, look like a gorilla hands. Here's my actual water system. I've been using this for about 8 years. They work good, and the Life Straw works good, but when you want to process a lot of water to bottle up at camp from the river, or if you're just bottling water from a source and you have to walk it somewhere else, this is a good way to do it. Comes with all the tubes and sponge systems right here, and you can unscrew this top here, which is probably not going to come undone. It's really hard after it's been sitting a while, but the filter's in there, and I do recommend that after every single trip, if you're out for, you know, a week and you've been using this, I recommend you opening this up and letting the filter dry out entirely. If you don't, you're going to have black mold in there, and you're going to have to replace the filter next trip, which is about $80. And if you take care of it right and dry it out right, the filters will last, you know, a long time. You're supposed to get 1,000, or I think you're supposed to get more than 1,000, but I think you're supposed to get like 1,000 gallons or something out of that thing. This is just a stuffed sack. I have some long johns in here. I have 2 pairs of wool socks, a bunch of regular socks, and a bunch of underwear. I just have all the stuff that I always carry. I usually only carry 1 pair of pants and, you know, 2 t-shirts maybe, and maybe a hiker's shirt. And here actually is my hiking shirt, which is like a quick dry Columbia long sleeve. It is important to carry 1 long sleeve shirt, because if the bugs really start coming down on you, you're going to be glad you have that long sleeve shirt. And of course, if you're out in the desert or you're in a place where you're getting a lot of direct sunlight, the direct sunlight is going to really beat on you, and to avoid heat stroke, you want to cover your body. Even though you are hot and think you want to strip down and get naked, you don't. You want to keep yourself covered in light linens, that light colored, that aren't attracting the heat, and that's how you really deal with a desert situation. Of course, my favorite is my billy pot, my pint pot. This is actually a Morris Kalansky pot, but this is the 1.1 liter. You can get this at 4dogstoves.com. Or you can go over to Morris Kalansky's site, and I think he has some connections with this too. He actually carries a 1.8 liter, a little bit bigger than this. This is the baby one, and this actually fits in the 1.8 liter nicely, but I had them add this bale wine here so I can hold it over my fire. most guys carry the 1.8 liter in memory, but like I was saying, most people carry the 1.8 liter. That's what Morris Kalansky carries. That's what Dave from Pathfinders carries. Dave Canterbury. He also sells a version of this pot that's made by Four Dog Stove at the Pathfinders, the 1.8 liter. This is a Morris Kalansky project, and really is his pot. And I recommend you going to Four Dog Stove and getting it. But if you love the Pathfinder stuff, you can get one with the Pathfinder's emblem. I don't know if he's carrying the anodized aluminum. I think he has just the regular aluminum. And I'd rather have this anodized, or however you say it. I'm not really positive on how you pronounce that. Anodized. But a black pot actually does heat up faster than a regular silver pot. Don't know the physics behind it, but I do know that is true. And it also has some non-stick properties, which is nice. When you open it, inside here I have my alcohol penny stove, which you guys have seen on the channel, videos on how to make them. I keep 8 ounces of Everclear 190 proof Everclear alcohol, which is multi-use. You can use that for your alcohol stove. You can use it for cleaning wounds and disinfectant, and you can also use it for drinking if you need a painkiller of some sort when you've injured yourself out in the bush. I don't recommend drinking too much when you're injured because alcohol will thin your blood and make you bleed out faster. And there's also probably between 9 and 12 S-bit fuel cubes in here, and an S-bit fuel stove, which you've seen on my videos. I like using an alcohol stove inside the S-bit fuel stove. It works really good, and the S-bit fuel stove you can easily use wood with, S-bit cubes, and lots of other things. A tea light candle in there to slowly heat your water. S-bit fuel stove is really light, folds up small, and works pretty good. The only thing I would maybe recommend over an S-bit fuel stove is maybe one of the bush box, so one of those little fire boxes that fold up. They break apart into 5 or 6 metal sheets. Those are really great too. I think Adam over at Equip to Adore is promoting a Kickstart on one of those firebox projects right now, actually. So after this video, go over there and check out his site if you're interested, and you can help a small company, upcoming company. So there's the pot and cooking system. Then we get to this. This right here has a actually Uncle Dave original. The demo's in here. By the first of the year, you're going to see on UncleDaveUltraliGear.com. We'll be launching a couple products, and one of them will be Uncle Dave's Super Light Tarp System and Uncle Dave's Ultralight Tarp Systems. And that's what I have in here. I'm not going to pull it all out right now. When I go to do the trip to California, you'll see I'll be staying in this tarp system, and I'll show you all the different ways that I like to set it up, including with a hammock and a couple bush cots, and a couple different ways that I like staying in my tent. I have a couple spools of 550 in there, and maybe 6 to 8 tent pegs, but I usually don't use pegs unless I'm in a place where there's just absolutely no wood, because I rather carve long sturdy pegs out of wood. So that's the tarp system. It looks a little big right now because I actually do have an extra netting system in there, but when we get out and get into the tarps and everything, I'll explain this whole package. But that's my tarp system. The tarp itself weighs about 13 to 16 ounces, depending on if you have the ultralight or the super light. This one is the super light, so it's about 13-14 ounces. And it has a screen attached to it and does offer pretty good bug protection by itself. It all depends on how comfortable you are and what kind of bugs you have in your environment. My hammock is a 2-person travel hammock. I bought this through LL Bean years and years ago. This company, I think, has turned into a different company at this point. I'm not really sure what the name is. This is a double one. They call it Double Eagle or whatever. Really big. I can easily hang this high in a tree, fit me and my hiking pack in this thing because it's made for 2 people, and I have done that before and slept with my pack off the ground with me. That way I don't have to worry about the critters or anything getting into it. And then, of course, this is the pack cover. It's 70 to 95 liters. Big enough to fit over it. Sometimes it's a struggle pulling it over the pad when the pad's hooked on the bottom of my pack. But necessity, if you don't have a waterproof pack, you're probably going to need a pack cover. Because when it starts pouring, you do not want everything in your pack to be getting soaked. My gaiters, some nice gaiters, Mountain Hardwear. I use them a lot when it's winter and when there's knee-high snow out here, but other than that I usually don't, but I do carry it in my winter kit. And this is pretty much my winter kit. The only thing that would be different in this kit for winter for me in Maine is I would have my down jacket in it. I have a small North Face down jacket, weighs about a pound, folds up pretty small, and I usually keep that in my bag. But when I'm in California, the temperatures really aren't that bad, and a hoodie and a fleece is really all I wear, so I don't want to carry the extra weight. That's just about everything. Come to the last part. This weighs 16 ounces. It may be unnecessary, but when I go to Yosemite and go to Joshua Tree, I camp at Camp 4 in Yosemite and a couple other camps that are very climber related. And every time I used to go, people would invite me to go on climbs, but you know what? If you don't have a safety harness, you can't go on any of the climbs with anybody. So I carry a safety harness now. This is just, I think, a black diamond, regular old harness. I carry a couple black diamond carabiners. It's for just a little over a pound. That adds some safety. If you have to tie yourself onto a rope and drop down a cliff and do some rappelling, yeah, it's a lot easier when you have yourself a harness. So I just carry this. No matter what the season is, I have a 1-pound harness in the bottom of my pack. So that's pretty much what this pack consists of for the winter. The pack is heavy. The pack itself, like I said, weighs about 7 pounds empty. All full, it's about 40 pounds, and if I have extra stuff, you know, that I'm just carrying that I'm usually not carrying, it might even get up to 45 pounds, which is heavy. I'm 230 pounds, 6'3", so 40 pounds isn't too heavy for me, but I prefer to have a 30-pound pack, and during the summer, my pack is at about 30 pounds even, and I'm happy hiking long distance with 30 pounds. When we get into 40 pounds, it's like anything over 10 miles that day is going to start killing me. But when it's winter, I carry the extra stuff. I'd rather have the extra stuff. But when it's summer, or when I'm just going on a hike for the weekend and stuff, I minimize a lot of this stuff. I mean, sometimes I will just be carrying a 1-pound sleeping bag, that pad, and my tarp, you know, and I'll bring out a system that's under 10 pounds. And when you hike with 10 pounds on your back, I did the Grand Canyon a couple years ago, and I hiked from the North Rim, which is, I think, 75 or 8,000 feet off of the canyon floor where the river is. And I only brought like 11 pounds in kit, and let me tell you, hiking down into the canyon ain't nothing, but hiking back up for a couple days, now that'll really take it out of you. Especially it was end of August, beginning of September, and the temperatures were about 90 to 102. It was really, really hot that year, and I was really glad because out of all the trips I've taken, it actually was the most comfortable trip I've ever taken, and it was due to only having 11 pounds on me, maybe 12 pounds in my backpack, but I did only pack for 2 days of food, and we pretty much carried water, a tent, our sleeping bag. I don't even think we brought a sleeping bag. I think we brought just like a light flannel blanket or sheet, and that was plenty enough. And after you do a hike like that, you really realize you can enjoy nature so much better and so much more when you aren't stressed out about how much weight you have on your back, when it's not killing you. If your pack's light enough, then you really enjoy it. So that's my winter kit. That's my loadout for the California trip coming up here. Thanks for joining me, and when I get out to California and set up camp, I'll show you each one of these items in its entirety. So thanks for joining Uncle Dave, DC's Adventures. I hope you guys have been enjoying these videos. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all later.